This show is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Do you ever wish you could slow time down and take a breather? That is what therapy is for. BetterHelp offers affordable online therapy on a flexible schedule. Take a moment with BetterHelp. Learn more at BetterHelp.com. That's BetterHelp.com. Why are there so few students at Hogwarts? Hey, brother! Let's do some quick math here. We know in Harry's year there are 10 Gryffindors, 5 boys and 5 girls. And if that holds true for the other 3 houses, it means his entire graduating class is about 40 people big, and that the student population of the entire castle is just 280? And this makes the wizarding population seem really small when you consider that Hogwarts is like the only school serving the greater British area. Which means in the entire country, just 40 new people are entering the workforce. Just 40 people who are buying houses, settling down, and contributing to the local economy. 40 potential people to join the professional Quidditch teams. Actually, I think it would be even way less than that. It would just be the number of 7th years who also played Quidditch at Hogwarts, so maybe like 5? Wait, Oliver Wood, man who cared more about Quidditch than anyone in the history of the sport, only makes, let me see here, the Puddlemere United practice squad. Is it possible that Oliver Wood is actually a terrible keeper? I mean, we know for a fact that the Chudley Cannons are terrible, and he's still only good enough for the Puddlemere practice team? I think this is a good opportunity for more math, because if there are 40 new wizards per year, and an average life expectancy is, let's say, 80, that means in England there would be 3,200 witches and wizards total, which seems low, but okay. You can't actually play professional Quidditch until after 17 and graduating, so we can immediately remove 680 from that 3,200. We can maybe assume that you don't play Quidditch after, say, age 40, so 23 years of eligibility. So math, that's 920 total eligible players. And just for reference, there are 13 teams in this league, assuming 7 players per team, and each team having a practice squad. That's 14 times 13, which is 182 professional or semi-professional Quidditch players in all of the United Kingdom. And 182 players out of 920 people age appropriate means about 20% of the populace is taking up a career as a professional athlete. Actually, what's even more interesting is that there are 28 house players at Hogwarts, 7 for each house and 4 houses total, and by our math, only 280 students in the castle. So only 10% of Hogwarts populace plays Quidditch. What that means is that on a percentile basis, you are more likely to play professional Quidditch than Hogwarts Quidditch. How did we get here? Oh, right, the population of the wizarding world makes no sense. Or does it? Hey, brother! Chud the cannons, boom, 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 we are not pirates. The thing is, the wizarding population doesn't seem to be a problem worldwide. Like at the Quidditch World Cup, we know that 100,000 wizards show up, and that's not even counting Mrs. Weasley, who stayed at home, so, at least like 100,001. Now, to be fair, this is an international sport at the top tier of the most popular sport within the entire wizarding world, not just inside of the UK. So it stands to reason that witches and wizards would have traveled from all over just to be in attendance. Honestly, what's really impressive here is that with such a small pool of witches and wizards to farm talent from, Ireland wins the entire thing. So well done. But consider the math that we did earlier. If there are only 3,200-ish wizards in the Hogwarts area, and even if we say multiplied that by 4, and all of them made it to the match, that's still only 12% of the attendance. Why is the rest of the wizarding population so much larger than in the UK? Well, the answer, as usual, is Voldemort. All of this was brought to our attention by a very cool fact that was recently pointed out to us over on the Owlry, the new Patreon after show for our podcast Through the Gryffindor, where we answer listener questions. In this instance, we are traveling back to Snape's worst memory, to the day he is taking his OWLs in the Great Hall along with the rest of the Marauders. He's scribbling down his final answers when time is called. "Quills down," squeaked Professor Flitwick. "That means you too, Stebbins. Please remain seated while I collect your parchment. Accio." More than 100 rolls of parchment zoomed into the air and into Professor Flitwick's outstretched arms. Okay, so first of all, who the heck is Stebbins? And second of all, unlike Professor Flitwick, did you catch the important detail? Over 100 rolls of parchment. Remember, OWLs are only taken by the 5th year students at Hogwarts, which changed our previous math rather drastically. Instead of 280 potential students, nearly 100 5th years would suggest that the school's population is closer to 700 total. Which would mean that our estimation of Harry's year and his class size is only at 40% of the usual capacity. Why? Well, as I mentioned, it really boils down to Voldemort and the entire First Wizarding War. While he no doubt eventually planned on spreading his reign to a more worldwide conquest, he never really got the opportunity since Harry kept stopping him. But in the meantime, he absolutely reigned terror over the UK region of the world, claiming thousands of lives in the process. We do know that a ton of those were Muggles, and that Voldemort personally killed enough people to fill up his lake surrounding the Locket Horcrux with Inferi. But obviously, based on the present day population in the books, his campaign was claiming a ton of magical lives as well. I mean, just take that brief example of Moody showing Harry the photograph of the First Order of the Phoenix. That's Marlene McKinnon. She was killed 2 weeks after this was taken. They got her whole family. That's Frank and Alice Longbottom. Benji Fenwick, he copped it too. We only other found bits of him. That's Edgar Bones, brother of Amelia Bones. They got him and his family too. He was a great wizard. Caradoc Dearborn vanished 6 months after this. We never found his body. Gideon Pruitt, it took 5 Death Eaters to kill him and his brother Fabian. Dorcas Meadows, Voldemort killed her personally. Do you see what I mean? People were dropping like flies. And while all of that is, of course, horrible, it also puts into perspective the absolute talent level of James, Lily, the Marauders, and Snape. Consider this. It is always said that Hermione is the cleverest witch of her year, and while that is undoubtedly true, she is still only up against about 39 other people, 2 of whom are Crabbe and Goyle, so, you know.
How thick could you get?
On the other hand, James and Sirius are constantly said to be the best in their year at, well, everything.
Nice one, James!
And they are up against 98 other students. Heck, even Lily being in the Slug Club back then was probably fairly exclusive by comparison. Speaking of exclusive though, let's take a quick moment to thank today's sponsor, Shopify. Honestly, if my wife attended Hogwarts, she would no doubt be in the Slug Club per her entrepreneurial spirit, because for years she has owned and operated her own bridal store, but came to me with a vision for a secondhand clothing store called Nude. It's like new, but then like past tense, so it's nude, new to you. Like, thanks, it's nude. You get it. And thanks to Shopify, she was able to take this from an idea to an operating website and storefront in, I kid you not, 2 weeks. She's definitely got some of that Slytherin ambition, but also Shopify makes it that easy. The biggest issue we ran into right away though was which brands should we be carrying, like Lululemon or Nike, Anthropologie or American Eagle. That's where Shopify comes in clutch. They provide a huge suite of reports to help you break down which products are working and which aren't. While it is super user-friendly, if you ever do need it, Shopify's award-winning help is there to support your success every step of the way. So sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/SCB. That's all lowercase. Again, go to shopify.com/SCB now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/SCB. Okay, but back to the wizarding population. Let's bring it back to Quidditch for a moment, because this could also explain why Wood was having such a hard time finding a new seeker for Gryffindor during Harry's first year.
Wood, I have found you a seeker.
Harry obviously goes on to be quite exceptional, but why weren't there more candidates from older students? Because the wizarding population is still recovering from the war. There just aren't that many students to choose from. Oliver is the captain and oldest player as a 5th year. Like, doesn't even that seem kind of odd? And before you claim that Oliver Wood is like a prodigy of some kind, he only makes the practice squad for Puddlemere United. On that same note, even in Harry's first year, Fred and George say that they have Oliver's speech memorized, meaning that Oliver was also captain in his 4th year. Unless, of course, he just stood up and gave speeches despite not being captain, which wouldn't surprise me, but also I think he was just captain because, the talent pool is so low. Also, I don't know if you guys caught that glorious pun. It was would, as in Oliver wouldn't. Jokes are best when explained. On the other hand, though, when Harry arrives at school, the Slytherins have won the House Cup for 7 years in a row, which sounds really impressive, and for sure it is, but I think the same reasoning probably applies here. While Voldemort is waging his war, he's pretty much winning, and most of his followers are ex-Slytherin students, meaning those families were the safest. Not only would they have existed on the winning side of the war, but the other side was less likely to go about killing anyway.
Together! No!
Too noble. Thus, after the war, the Slytherin population hasn't been affected almost at all, so it would not surprise me if those 7 years Slytherin house was literally just double, if not triple, the size of the other houses. In which case, of course, they are winning. Not only do they have more people able to earn them points, but the pool for talent for things like Quidditch is that much bigger. Another odd observation has to be the infrequency of any of the students while Harry's at school having, or in this case, not having, siblings. I think the Weasleys may skew this perspective a little bit because there are, 7 of them, but I also think it's quite clear that Molly and Arthur made the conscious decision to focus on family and not the war during the first go-round. And this really just must be the case, just given how otherwise integral they ended up being in the second Wizarding War. But otherwise, think about it. We've got Seamus, Dean, Neville, Harry, Hermione, Lavender, Draco, Cho, Luna, even more deep cut characters like Katie Bell, Angelina Johnson, Justin Finch-Fletchley, Hannah Abbott, Lee Jordan, Zachariah Smith, and so on. Actually, do you remember Stebbins from before? Turns out he had a child who was around during Harry's time too. 10 points from Ravenclaw Fawcett, Snape snarled as a girl ran past him, and 10 points from Hufflepuff too, Stebbins. Classic Stebbins, am I right? Exceptions to this, you might be thinking, would of course include the Patil twins. However,
Hi, Harry.
they are twins, meaning they arrived at the same time because twins.
Can confirm that do be how the twins work.
Father of twins.
Yeah, it's like a lot of work.
We do have Colin Creevey and Dennis Creevey, but they're both notably and kind of unusually Muggleborns, meaning their parents likely were not privy to the happenings within the Wizarding world. My dad's a milkman. Is he though? Of course he is. Oh, Colin. Fleur does have her younger sister, Gabrielle, but they're international and not really within the focus of Voldemort's reign. All of which, though, kind of suggests that even the folks who, remained alive and were still having kids during Voldemort's first rise to power were really only having the one. This is in contrast to what we've seen both before and after, at least when we have some reference points to go off of. Dumbledore, for example, has 2 siblings, Ariana and Aberforth. Sirius has a brother, Regulus. Andromeda, Narcissa, and Bellatrix are all sisters, and we know from further reading on Pottermore that Gilderoy Lockhart had 2 older sisters, and even Umbridge has a squib younger brother. Not that she would ever admit to such things. Then, if we zoom forward to after Voldemort's reign of terror, we see that Harry himself has 3 children, James, Albus, and Lily. Ron and Hermione have 2, Hugo and Rose. Luna has 2, Lorcan and Lysander. Point is, Voldemort's impact on the wizarding population at his worst was massive and noticeable, and the ramifications can pretty much be spotted no matter where you turn. This can even sort of put into perspective how even though Voldemort's inner circle wasn't terribly large, just how they were so dangerous and effective in reigning terror. Basically, it's the fact that the entire population, even at its best, already isn't that big. And all it really took was a handful of highly dangerous and highly motivated individuals to nearly topple the entire system. In fact, I'd take it one step further and say that this may even also explain why secrecy is just so important to the leadership within the wizarding world. Their populace hardly meets that of a small town, and it doesn't require a lot of opposition to put their entire way of life at risk. There you go, why there are so few students at Hogwarts, and also maybe just how Voldemort was able to pose such a risk to wizard kind. there you go, guys. As always, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you'd like some more Harry Potter action from us, you can check out our brand new podcast, Through the Gryffindor, right over here, where Jay and I are going chapter by chapter, sentence by sentence, breaking down every detail of the story. It has been so much fun. Be sure to check it out. Otherwise, until next time, bye!